Hey, folks. Welcome to Armed Lutheran Radio. I'm your host, Lloyd Bailey, the Armed Lutheran, and this is the state of the show for 2020. For those of you who are new, Armed Lutheran Radio is a show about guns and hunting and competitive shooting, the natural right of self defense, and what God's word says about the issues surrounding gun rights and gun ownership. Yes, I have that committed to memory. If you're a Christian and you have an interest in guns, the outdoors, or self defense, this is the show for you. I mean, we're not your typical pro gun podcast, that's for sure. And that's going to continue to be the case in 2020. We have tips every 2 weeks. We have tips from our resident hunting guide, Mia Anstein. We have tips from our master class competitive shooter, Sergeant Bill Sylvia. And we have tips and rants and pontifications from our pastor, John Bennett. And that will continue to be the case. And what we're going to do in 2020 is going to be a lot like what we did in 2019. We're going to alternate weeks where we have tips from the cast, and then every other week we'll have a segment called Clinging to God and Guns with the pastor and myself. The next week we talk about the proper Christian view of certain gun-related issues, the issues surrounding gun ownership and the use and misuse of firearms and crime stories and all kinds of fun stuff. The entire backlog of the show, all 202 episodes, they'll continue to be free on the website, and they'll be available, of course, places like Apple Podcasts and Google Play, or I guess it's Google Podcasts now, TuneIn and Stitcher and Spotify and all kinds of good stuff. If you search for Armed Lutheran Radio, you're going to find us. And that will all continue to be free. I've got several books out for those of you who are new, those who haven't heard about it. They're based on the commentaries that I did in the previous 3 seasons 1, 2, and 3, and podcasts or blog posts that I did back before the podcast launched back in the 2012 to 2015 range. Those are available in print. They're also available in Kindle format on Amazon, and there's a link in the show notes. When I post this on the podcast, when I post this on YouTube, there'll be links to that stuff in the show notes down below. For those of you who are watching live, it's available. Just go to the website, armedlutheran.us, click on the button that says shop at the top, and you can find it. There's all kinds of cool Armed Lutheran swag there as well. Speaking of books, I've got a really cool project that is hopefully going to be released second quarter of this year. It's a gun rights apologetics book, which I have got no idea what to call yet. It's basically going to be a guide to refuting the arguments that some Christians make in defense of gun control or in opposition to gun ownership. We tackle the most common, the most uncommon even uses of Scripture with commentaries from Lutheran pastors around the country. And if you're watching this live, or if you see this on YouTube or again on Facebook later in the year, you can, or before the second quarter comes around, you can pre-order that book now, get a signed copy, your name on the cover, and an opportunity to help us decide on the title, because I have no idea yet what to call it. Look for that item in the Armed Lutheran shop as well. In 2020, we're going to continue to be listener funded. That was something that started last year. Thank you, first off, for 3 years of support from Cook's Holsters. We are got us on our feet and got us going, and now we are completely listener funded. We don't have any sponsors, and we don't solicit them, and I have no plans to do that in 2020. Armed Lutheran Radio will continue to be brought to you by the generosity of our fans, mainly the fans who are members of our membership page, the Reformation Gun Club. That's all done through Patreon. They get access to hundreds of hours of exclusive content, extended episodes, extended interviews that we didn't have time to air on the show, originally, individual segments from the cast. You can still hear all of those segments free, but if you want to go back and find every segment that Mia ever released, you can just go to the Reformation Gun Club when you sign up, and there's a list. There's all of her content, every one of her tips individually, plus all the individual tips from Sergeant Bill and commentaries from me and the pastor, and self-defense tips from Aaron Israel, who's no longer with us. No longer with us on the show. I didn't want to make it sound like he's dead. He's not. We'll continue to be holding some monthly online hangouts with the members of the Reformation Gun Club and the cast. That was a lot of fun in 2019. I want to continue to do that. It's a great way to connect with our audience, with the members of the gun club, to get all of the cast together in one place. I know it sounds like on the show that we're all together, but we're not. Everybody is submitting their own content separately, and then I'm putting it all together and producing the show. It's really cool to get together, all of us at once in the same place, and that's going to continue in 2020. If you value what we do here, if you want to take part in all of that stuff, if you want to be involved in some of these projects, I'm going to tell you about some new things in just a moment. And I would encourage you to join the Reformation Gun Club for as little as $1 a month. That's all it takes. 12 bucks a year, and you will help make all of this possible and help fund the various projects that we've got in the hopper and improvements that we have planned. Here's how your support could help us going forward. I'm going to give you an idea of some of the things that we want to do in 2020. One is to improve the equipment that we've got, so that all of the members of the cast have the same equipment. We all have the same, if you're not familiar with audio equipment, you can have really good equipment, each person, but if it's different, it all sounds different. Some things have a little different tone, and they have a little different ways that they handle bass and the mid frequencies and the higher frequencies. So I'd like to kind of standardize so that we all have the same sound quality, just to improve the quality of the audio going forward. One thing that I've been discussing with members of the Reformation Gun Club, and I'm hoping to get off the ground, is a face-to-face meetup with members of the Reformation Gun Club. I'm thinking somewhere in the central part of the U.S., St. Louis, Kansas City area, somewhere in there. It would be central for all the members of the cast, because I'm in Texas, Sergeant Bill's in Texas, Mia's in Colorado, and the pastor is in Minnesota. So if we could all get together with the cast and the members of the Reformation Gun Club, have some one-on-one face-to-face time, instead of as much as I enjoy the online stuff, face-to-face would be really cool. And what I hope we can do is to arrange a meeting at a shooting range where we could all get together and do some shooting together. I think that would be really cool. We're also going to, something that I've been thinking about doing, and with your help, I would like to do, is to bring back the midweek meditations. Midweek meditations, if you go back to the first 2 years of the podcast and a little bit in the third season, midweek meditations were kind of the extra stuff, the table scraps that didn't quite make it into the show. They were, maybe there was a news story that came up and I wanted to comment on it, and but it was too late to make a change to the format of the show. I'd already gotten the show produced for the week, or it just didn't quite fit in, or whatever. I produced some of those and put them out in the middle of the week, and I called it Midweek Meditations. And what I'd like to do in 2020, and with your help, I would like to, I think we can get this done, is to bring those back as a patron-only podcast. Just additional content specifically for our gun club members. I would love to do that, because there's still some things that don't quite fit into the show. We don't have time for. We've trimmed the show down to close to 30 minutes. I'm trying to make it so that it fits into your commute time. So we went from over an hour for the first 3 seasons to down to 35 minutes last year. And we're going to keep it that way in 2020. But I'd like to bring back Midweek Meditations as a patron-only podcast. I've got some really cool ideas for new books. If I can get to them, commentaries, tips, prayers, all kinds of stuff. Your contributions can make that possible. And I'd like to do more frequent live videos. Like I mentioned, those are so much fun. It's been great to connect face to face with members of with fans who are members of the Reformation Gun Club. I'd like to do that kind of stuff, maybe even some free things with everybody more often. That's what we've got in mind for 2020. Lots of new ideas and new and informative content, and your support can make it happen. If you would like to join the Reformation Gun Club, look for links. If you're depending on where you're watching this, go to, if you're listening to this live, if you're watching it on Facebook, go to gunclub.armedlutheran.us, or you can go to armedlutheran.us and click on Reformation Gun Club in the menu at the top, or you can go to the shop to find out more about the books. If not, if you're watching it later on YouTube, there'll be links in the show notes. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your support. This is our 5th year. We're getting ready to launch our 5th year. The first show is going to be, I believe, let me check my calendar. It's not this coming Sunday. I lost track. It is going to be, episode 203 is going to drop on January 12th. So that'll be our first show for 2020. Thank you so much for your support, for listening for all these years. For those of you, especially who are members of the Reformation Gun Club, thank you so much for your support, for kind of putting your money where your mouth is and really helping to make all of this possible. Thank you for my cast who continue to provide awesome content every week. It's just been an honor and a blessing to work with all of you. And thank you for watching this little state of the show. And I hope you will continue to listen this year as we roll out some really new and cool ideas. Talk to you soon. Have a great day and have a happy new year.